Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Dan Black.
Yeah, ultimately, you want to get some type of base. I see a lot of guys, they're like, oh, I want to be an MMA fighter, but then you ask them where they're training, they're like, oh, I'm training MMA, but they're not really good at anything. You know what I mean? So I'd say get good at the sports that make up
One guy
MMA
told
too.
me, one guy told me they were training UFC. They said, I'm like,
Yeah, you see
yeah,
those
you're
guys that
training UFC, huh?
yeah, you see those guys at UFC gym. Like, what do you do? They're like, I train UFC. I'm like, okay, but yeah, for me, I've always thought that it's better to get good at something, that one of the disciplines that make up MMA, and you see that now at the higher level, right? Like most of the guys that are good in UFC, they got really good at one thing first, and then they added to it. So I'd say try to get good at wrestling, or you're probably gonna have something you gravitate to a little differently. I think that's one cool thing about MMA is if you've seen guys that, Stephen Thompson was very successful. He was a karate guy. You see guys that are highly successful that were wrestlers. You see guys that were highly successful jiu-jitsu guys. You know what I mean? They all had to end up putting it all together and learning everything at some point, but they got good at something first. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd say too, go for it. Like shoot for the stars. If you miss by a little bit, you're still way up there in the heavens. You know what I mean? So get out there. Time goes fast. Tomorrow's never promised. So if you want to do it, go for it. You got to believe in yourself and go for it. So most of the successful people
You think
that I know in
offense,
MMA.
defense, 50-50? Or
Uh, both. I think everyone's gonna have their own style, right? Like some guys, some guys, their offense is their best defense. You know what I mean? And then some guys are just such defensive masters. Like Floyd Mayweather, for example, for boxing, right? He's so good because you can't touch him. My friend Danny Bill, I just had him out here for a seminar. In Muay Thai, he was 136 wins, 12 losses in Muay Thai in the 90s against like all the best Thais in Thailand. Like that's insane. You know what I mean? You probably had like close to 200 fights total and
yeah,
lost like
that's
12 of them. You know what I mean? So, and he's a guy that's a defensive master. He's just so good at defense. Lerdzilla, another guy, he's just he's so impossible to hit. If you can't hit me, then how are you going to beat me if you can't knock me out? You know what I mean? So I think
yeah, you
defense is
can't hit me, you
definitely.
can't hurt me, right?
Yeah, if I do stress defense with a lot of my guys because it's like, hey, if they're not knocking you out, then you're halfway to winning. You still have to add the offensive components, right? And then you have some guys where it's like, okay, you can kind of tell, like defense, they're just not going to get it. So it's like, okay, you just got to double down on your offense. Like you got to be so offensive that your offense is your
Yeah,
defense. you know, it's gonna vary based on your fighter,
yeah,
and
man.
everyone kind of has different style. You know what I mean? So everybody has different attributes too, right? Like some guys, they have a great chin, so they get hit with a fucking baseball bat and they're gonna walk through it. Where other guys, a strong wind blows and they're rocked. So you'll see
I've
guys
seen
like
some
that.
guys get. I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen guys get
Yeah,
hit so hard and they're still conscious. Like, what the fuck? What's gonna take them
yeah.
down, man?
Yeah, no, you have some guys like that, that are just they have a crazy fucking ability to take punishment. They can take crazy amount of damage.
Gracie would get punched in the jaw a lot, right, and
Yeah,
not go
yeah, no,
down.
yeah. Hoist had a chin, man. You never really see him get slapped. You know what I mean? So like
Uh,
some guys, they've got a chin. Some guys don't have a chin. Some guys are, they're just, they had. I think a lot of them had concussions before, right? They played football. It is something where they have previous, head injuries, and so like I always try to ask that when I have a guy coming in, if I'm training them, because if I know you have a history of head injuries, then we're doubling down on the defense. Like you're probably going to get hit eventually, but I want to do everything we can to minimize you getting hit. So you're going to have to just be a different type of fighter. You have to fight different. Whereas some guys are they're some guys are the bulls, some guys need to be the matador. So it all depends on the guy.
And how prevalent is CTE in MMA?
Well, I mean, we don't really know because they have to like cut open your brain after you're dead to see if you even have it, right? I don't think they've.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after
I
you're
don't.
dead.
I don't think they've been able to determine that yet. I saw a post by BJ Penn though where he said like CTE was fake and it's to cover up murder. So you're just like, man, like it kind of seems like a sign of CTE, you know. But you know, uh, yeah, like
Possibly. I mean,
possibly, you
Aaron
know,
Hernandez had it, right?
yeah, yeah, this is I think any contact sport where you're getting, hit in the head, it's going to carry some risk of it. So I think yeah, I always try to, emphasize that's another reason why I emphasize defense to my guys, even if you're a guy that, has a chin, you should if like I had a chin, I have a head like a brick, and so I'm like, okay, since I actually have a chin, I'm going to be using that to work on my defense. You know what I mean? Because if I take one, then whatever, it's probably not going to do anything anyway. I got a pretty good chin. But if you're just sitting there taking it the whole
Yeah, you're
time,
I can tell you're the guy. You're the guy that I hit. You're just standing there like, what's up? I'm like, fuck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of how I was. It's like But then like I'm like, okay, like that's I think you only have so many you can take, no matter who you are. So I think even if you have a
Yeah.
great chin, like Rod Tang, you ever watch One FC, the fighter Rod Tang? That guy's crazy. He lets you hit him and just taunts you and laughs at you after you hit him as hard as you
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Uh, you know, which is a good strategy.
Yeah,
Because
they
it's
like
like,
go up
man,
with their hands down, right?
yeah, yeah. If you
What's
crack a
his
guy as
name?
hard as you can
What's
and he
his name?
laughs at
Goes with
you,
his hands down and shit.
yeah, no, there's guys like that,
Yeah.
and so, I think that's cool if you can do that, but I think you should probably, if you are like that, you should still be working a lot on your defense because now, you have extra, protection. If you do end up taking one, then you probably got a chin and can
Jason
still walk through
Mayhem
it.
Miller used to do that same shit, right?
Yeah,
Mayhem.
yeah, yeah. I always think it's just a matter of time
Like,
till that
hit me,
catches up
hit
with
me.
you, though. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, sometimes it's good for taunting, right? Like it's good to because you make the guy think. Like if I'm coming at you, yelling for you to hit me, then you're kind of thinking like, man, this guy's crazy, or you might think it's a setup, right? You're waiting for me to swing, and then you're gonna swing the same time, So it can be a good strategy. Like I said, for me, it's about longevity too. So even my guys that have a chin, I'm trying to stress to them like, hey, you still want to work your defense because MMA is different. Like it's you're not fighting with the big ass boxing glove. Those little gloves, they hit differently. And then with MMA, you have to worry about elbows, right? So it's like, okay, you can take a punch, but the guy split your fucking head open. You know what I mean? Now you're bleeding all over the place. They see your brain through your scalp. So it's tough to fight. So I think being evasive and elusive
Yeah.
definitely is something that people want to work on, no matter if they have a chin or if they don't. I think you definitely want to work a strong defense and have a good offense. I don't think you want to be too defensive because you got two guys that are super defensive. Then it's like, okay, what am I watching? I used to always say that about UFC. Like, what was that, 10 years ago? Because you'd have
Another
all these
Forrest
wrestlers.
Griffin, Stephen Bonner fight.
Yeah, well, that's what you want, right? Like, Corey Schaefer, he's a ISKA president for kickboxing. He used to always be like, people don't watch fighting for the fighting; they watch fighting for the human drama that you only see in fighting. Fighting is the only sport where you could be up like like in football, like if you're up like 80-0, like I'm not coming back. You know what I mean? There's a certain point in other sports where there's
Yeah.
no chance of coming back on the points. MMA is a sport where like if me and you are fighting, you could be whooping me up like every single second of the fight, and in the last 10 seconds I knock you out or I choke you out, or that's something unique to fight sports where the score can go from 100-0 to the guy that was completely out of it wins. You know what I mean? So I think that's
Yeah.
something unique to fighting, and that's something why people watch fighting. There's a different drama element in fighting that you don't see in other sports. And it's a I think that was probably the real first sport, man. You know what I mean? Like as humans, like You know, I don't think our ancient ancestors
Hell
were
yeah, there was
playing baseball.
cavemen fighting,
There's
man.
cavemen fighting, man. You know,
They're like,
you
give
have
me
to,
your food.
yeah, you got
Yeah.
to fight for your food. You know, it's that was probably like the first real, you know,
Your
thing
women,
people
you
were
gotta,
doing. You got
right?
to
The
fight for
cavemen, they would
women.
knock them with the club and try
Yeah, yeah,
all that shit.
yeah. You know, just, yeah, and you'd have to fight off dinosaurs. You know, it's like, you know. So I think fighting is
All
just
that
something
shit,
primal.
man.
It's something
Fucking
ingrained in us.
Tyrannosaurus,
Yeah, you know. Yeah,
saber-tooth cats and shit.
yeah, running and fighting. Those were
But
like the
yeah,
first
man.
things I think humans were doing. You know, so it's you, I just saw a picture earlier. It was some ancient. It was like, you know, the Greek dudes that are like the half horse. It was like doing a heel hook on a dude. I was like, geez, those guys
Yeah,
are doing
yeah.
heel hooks. Yeah, it's like he was doing a heel, like it's a legit. He was doing an inside heel hook in a picture. I'm just like, man, you know, the fucking minotaurs were heel hooking people thousands of years ago. So come on.
Oh man, that's hilarious. It's hilarious, man. It's like an 8,000-year-old painting.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude's
yeah,
armbar and fucking.
yeah. You know, that's the thing. Like all these moves, I
This has
think.
been great, man.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
been good, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
yeah, man. I really appreciate you coming on. You're welcome back here anytime. And it's been great. People are gonna love this interview. And you want to give anyone a shout out before we go, or tell about your fight coming up? Because I'm gonna get this
Oh,
out before the weekend.
yeah, yeah. No, so make sure to check A1 Combat. That's gonna be Uriah Faber show, November 18th. It's gonna be Hard Rock, Sacramento, and then let's see, we have Mason Hartshorn, we got Dominic Ducharme, we got James Guidry fighting on that one. Um, that's the next like really big one that I have coming up. So shout out to all my fighters that, you know, give me a reason for living. You know, and shout out to, you know, all my teammates. You know, all the dudes at Saber, all the dudes, you know, NCFA, Gil Melendez, Nick Diaz Academy, Team Doom Damaya, my brother. You know, all those guys that, you know, I train with every day. So yeah, just a shout out to all the sponsors that support us. You know, Kinder's Barbecue, Backpack Boys, a what was it? AMB Law Firm. That one right there is a big one. So yeah, just all the people that keep coming and fucking with us and believing in us, man, keeps us going. So yeah,
Shout out to Randy Marshall for making this possible.
yeah,
Appreciate you,
Randy, what's up? Oh yeah,
my man Randy. And if you
awesome.
guys like this type of content, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like it, start your own podcast. Peace.
Yeah.